Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. There is just two of us today, myself and Andy Bell. Thanks for jumping on, Andy. How are we today?
No problem. Yes, I'm very good. Thank you. I'm looking forward to chatting about the season to come. Very excited. It feels like it's still ages away. It's like 4 months since we were last at Prenton Park. 4 months. It's ridiculous. Yes.
Hell, I didn't know it was that many.
That trophy lift day was in April. It's now August. I'm having withdrawal
That's crazy.
symptoms. I'm sorry. And I'm going to take it out on you.
It's okay. First of all, how did you... I see you made it out the other side of the heat wave. How was it?
Yes. Right. Basically, I live in this old sort of flat. It's sort of like a really old building, and someone explained to me once, but there's either like loads of insulation or there's no insulation, or the bricks are really old. Whatever happens, it's basically like the tundra in winter and a greenhouse in the summer.
Brilliant.
And there's about 2 months of the year where it's like the sweet spot where I can actually live in it. So it's been absolutely unbearable. I literally have had to buy a new fan because the one I bought from John Lewis last year, John Lewis fan, Amy, imagine how much that cost me, and it's done already.
Rotten.
It's so useless. So I had to buy like one from Argos, and to be fair, that's a lot better. But honestly, like I was getting 5-6 hours sleep some nights. This country just isn't built for it, is it? How did you find it?
I was away. I was in that degree heat for 10 days. Can you tell? I've not. You can't see my tan on camera, but I promise you it's better. I was all right, although I went to Morocco, and I feel like they don't have a concept of aircon or like great aircon.
Yeah.
So it was like sleeping in a tepid room at 45-degree heat every day. But can't complain. Lovely holiday. Feel refreshed, feel replenished, and ready to go again.
How were the quads? The
quads were great. The quadcast was great. I had good fun. Still finding sand. All wet everywhere.
It's like when you play in those plastic pitches and you got like the little black rubber
3G
balls.
Bits. Yeah.
You still find them everywhere. My mum used to hate those.
Yeah, mine too.
And now I hate them because I actually have to clean up after myself now.
Adult life.
I know. It's not fair, is it? It's an affront.
Anyways, we should probably get on with some football since we've got all the dilly-dallying out the way. So you took over the podcast last week. Thank you very much. And you chatted a little bit about, mainly about the derby that is ongoing. You can all get your tickets now for was it the 23rd or the 24th?
It is the 25th, I believe.
25th,
Sunday,
neither.
isn't it?
Brilliant, yeah.
Anyway, just find out when the Sunday is around those dates, and it's then.
Yeah, and you can get your tickets. It's absolute pennies to go to Anfield, and last time, 2019, was it? Such a great occasion. So definitely go get your tickets, join us all there. I'm sure we'll get the cop rocking. That'll be fantastic.
Yes. And the flags.
I know, yeah. Looking forward to it. Other news within Liverpool then is obviously we all know it's pre-season time. And we'll go on to how much we can read about pre-season. I think Liverpool have had so far, obviously 2 games still left to play. Bit of a mixed bag. Obviously done very well against opponents in the same league and lower leagues. And in fairness, put up quite a good fight against WSL opponents. And I think that's probably the games that we can possibly read slightly more into. Not in a case of, oh my God, we've lost everything.
How do you know Furness put up a good fight if we haven't seen the games?
I'm going to move on, Andy.
There was a great comment. I think you sent it to me, actually. It was like Andy filled in for Amy with the bad jokes last week. And now they've got 2 of us.
Oh, it's going to be
bad jokes squared.
Oh, God. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So like it seems like we've put up quite a good battle against WSL opposition. Obviously played United last week or the week before, one or the other. And came away with a 1-0 defeat with a goal from Leah Galton. And I think obviously the thing that we need to remember as well is that United team was missing quite a lot of their key players, obviously with returning from the Euros. But I'm not going to sit here and cry about a 1-0 defeat to United in pre-season. I don't know if you kind of agree the same, but I think these games are super, super vital with our preparation of going back into the WSL. Because obviously these are teams we're going to be playing week in, week out. And to test ourselves at this point before the season's even began, I think lessons will be learned, changes will be made, and hopefully that sets us on the right path, like going into the new season in September.
Yeah, I think Neil Atkinson from the Anfield Rap's been really good on this, and his thing is that Liverpool can't just stay up; they have to stay up in a manner that everyone enjoys themselves, and we're competitive with the rest of the league. For example, Leicester stayed up last season because Birmingham get about 3 points all year. And you know, we were in the Clipper after games where Leicester were on the TV getting snotted 9-0, I think it was, by Chelsea.
That was
I think it was something similar against Arsenal as well when we were up at Bristol that day. We were watching that 7-0. You know, Liverpool can't go about their business like that next season because it may stay up purely due to the fact that there's only one team that goes down.
Like you shouldn't want to stay up because another team's worse. You want to stay up because you're better or you deserve to be in the league. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think from the results that we've seen this season, obviously we had the Forest one, and they're not even a championship, are they? They're a couple of divisions down.
One below, I think, yeah.
We beat Blackburn 3-1. They were sort of similar level to us last season. Well, for a while in the season, obviously everyone kind of finishes quite a bit below us last season. And then, yeah, as you say, Man United, we don't know how much we can read into that because, as you say, the likes of Ella Toon, Mary Earps, Alessia Russo, and those girls, I assume they weren't playing, although Manchester United gave absolutely no indication as to anything that was happening on that pitch. We were allowed to tweet our starting lineup, and then not any subs or anything that happened.
Bit strange, yeah.
And then they were allowed to tweet the goal scorer. So I don't know like really what's going on there. But I assume like if people want to look through their Twitter, I think they're playing some games over in France at the moment and see how kind of strong a team that would have been. Regardless, we wouldn't have played our strongest team for 90 minutes anyway.
No.
So it's probably a fair matchup. And that's a team that finished, what was it, either third or fourth last season? I know the two Manchester clubs
they were sort of start to midway through the season testing and trying to get those Champions League spots either way, so they have big ambitions.
So it's a European level team, and I was saying on the podcast last week that for Liverpool next season's about sort of staying up in the right way, then it's about kind of being the best of the rest, and then it's probably about challenging those Manchester clubs for those European spots. And how far down the line that is, we don't really know. I'm sure Matt Beard and the staff have a plan for it, but you can't read anything into one game, but 1-0 defeat is certainly competitive and it's certainly respectable for that one. And I don't know if you want to talk about the Villa game straight away or you want to do something. Something else.
Well, I was getting the other ones out of the way, but obviously Villa's quite a lot more positive and possibly a team that we would be looking at picking up 3 points against home and away coming into the season. Obviously they've strengthened quite well. Obviously Rachel Daly getting added into their starting into their squad is obviously no idea. But obviously her coming in, and they've made quite a few good signings across the summer window. And as I said, a team that we would be looking to capitalize on, maybe picking those games throughout the season where you want to be 100% strength of your squad, getting up those 3 points. So to go up against them in pre-season and come away with a win, regardless of whether it's 1-0 or however many goals, like a win is a win. So it's nice to feel a bit of confidence from that. I think that'll be one of the main things. Obviously, a big part of pre-season is making sure the players get up to fitness. So naturally, when you're playing against WSL opposition, it's going to be possibly a little bit more physical than the Championship and then the teams below that we'd previously come up against. So I think there's quite a lot of positive to take from it as well. Like Leanne Kiernan scoring after 3 minutes. If she carries on like that for the season, we're going to be laughing. Essentially
every 3 minutes. She's going to score every 3 minutes.
Well, 33.
Oh, we're doing Irish jokes, are we not, Amy?
Yeah.
All right. I see how it is.
But I don't know what you sort of made of that, whether are we reading into it too much, or is it just nice to feel happy that we're doing all right against certain opposition?
I think it's definitely a positive. I think you're absolutely right in what you mentioned there. Every team kind of, I'd say below Spurs, but even maybe Spurs as well, are fixtures that Liverpool should look to try and win next season. Obviously, we're not going to win every single one. Or at least pick up a point
with as well.
Or at least, don't get beaten, absolutely. That Reading game, first game of the season, we should be going to win that, certainly try not to lose it. And I said in the podcast last week, we should be looking at 4 points from those games against Reading and Everton, because the other 4 games around that in the first 6 games are really, really difficult. And that Reading game's there's actually going to end up being a lot of pressure on that, which is unusual for a promoted team. Usually your first game in the new league, it's like the shackles are off and just go and have a go. It's a free hit. And if you look at the Premier League, the likes of Nottingham Forest the other weekend, they're just playing with complete freedom. You don't get to play with in like maybe December time. Whereas Liverpool don't really have that because they sort of have to win that game or certainly pick up something. And then if it is a draw, then you kind of need to go and win the derby. Then again, massive pressure there in front of the supporters. And we all know what happened last time. So teams around sort of Villa's level, around Reading's level, ideally Aston Villa, you'd like to pick up 4 points from them next season. If we are picking up 4 points home and away to Aston Villa, then you're looking at giving yourself a good chance of staying up in that case. So I had a look at their team as well, and I had a quick look down the minutes they played last season, and it was a strong Aston Villa side. Obviously different teams have different numbers of players going away to the European Championships and will be still on a rest. And obviously, as you mentioned a couple yourself there, Aston Villa had a couple. Simone McGill obviously came in and isn't going to play next season, which is really unfortunate because she's a smashing player. But like if you look at that, the team that we lined up with against Villa, you've got Laws in goal, Matthews, Robe, Silcock, Roberts, Furness, Kearns, Campbell, Humphrey, Kiernan, Daniels. Now that outfield 10, you wouldn't be shocked if none of them started that first game of the season. I have my own opinions of that. I'm sure you have yours as well. And I certainly would pick a couple of them, but there's a world in which he selects none of those in our strongest 11.
Yeah.
Obviously Rachel Laws will be in there. So, we've gone there and we don't know exactly when the subs were made again because we had got no information on Twitter. But certainly for that first half, we won that first half 1-0 with, as I say, possibly a second string 11, if you want to call it that, which is really, really encouraging. We know that Stengel, Holland, Lawley, and Kovisto all came on in the second half. We don't know when, and we don't know who
Van der
else.
Sanden as well.
Did she come on? Yeah, I was trying to find as much information as I could.
I think so, yeah.
I'd assume, all the subs.
She would at least have had even the last 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And when you look at the team that played against United, which is probably more along the lines of what we're going to see next season, he's just chopping and chasing and giving people a go. And I'm really glad to see Hannah Stillcock in the team, by the way. Because although I haven't seen that much of her, she's really impressed me when she's come on, and she really impressed me in the Conti Cup last season.
Yeah.
So I'm buzzing for her, and hopefully, she can get a couple more minutes in the legs before the season starts. And who knows? There's 3 defenders there, and she'll certainly get games in the Conti Cup if she's still around. And I'd like to see her develop, definitely.
I agree. I think something that was interesting. Knocks me over about the United game. Looking back at that is the choice of Matthews in whether she was in the CDM position, whether she was in midfield. Obviously, there's a lot of questions. We don't necessarily know the answer because we weren't told any information. But obviously, you've got Julie Flaherty and Niamh Fahey. You would look at that and go, oh, that's probably the centre-back pairing in that starting 11. With Koi Visto, we're not doing any of the finished jokes. Save them for the end of the podcast when we're about to finish.
When we're finished.
Thank you. And then
very good. Sorry, still that one. You didn't realize you were going for it there.
I went for it. And then you've obviously got this starting 11 really quite confused me because you've got Campbell, Hines, and Koi Visto all in the same squad. So whether that means Hines pushed up onto the wing slightly, and she's trying to figure out whether if we're looking a bit loose 3/4 of the way through the season and we need someone to jump in to midfield for us, is she an option? I don't really know. And I think that's the same with Matthews as well, because to me, I'd imagine Matthews was in that CDM position in front of the 2 defenders, which, I mean, I could be completely wrong. We don't know any information whatsoever, but are you opposed to that idea? Or what did you sort of make of that starting 11 when it came out?
No, first of all, on the United team, I'd say it was probably a back 3 and Campbell on the left of the back 3. I don't know if he's done something different there. It's all we can go off, as you say, is how they're laid out on the team sheet. And even then, they always put Kiernan right at the bottom of the team sheet, which suggests she's playing on the left wing. I've never seen Kiernan play on the left wing. She's been on the right, if anything, but she's always down the middle. So you can kind of look into it and see who's named where. But ultimately, we are absolutely guessing at this point, and without highlights and without any video footage, we are guessing. I think he will look to get Campbell in that team somehow because
of the
WSL, we're not going to. Well, the throw-in is the obvious thing, isn't it? And in the WSL, we're not going to have 60-70% possession like we did in some games last season when we were the best team in the league. And in some games, it may not be pretty, but we are going to have to sit in and play for
defend for our lives, essentially, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at you look at set pieces this season. You've got Kearns, probably is one of the best deliveries in the WSL. You've got Campbell, who I'd be shocked if anyone is better or longer throw in the WSL. And I'm quite vocal and on record, certainly in our chat, about thinking that Leanne Kieran's overall game is better than Katie Stengel's. But you look at the amount of goals that Stengel scored last season from long throws and from corners, and even something that people kind of forget, when you put a taller player in the attack, they're still there from defensive set pieces as well, and give you a little bit more height. And I expect Liverpool to be very, very strong from defensive and attacking set pieces next season. I think it's a real string to our bow as well. You mentioned Matthews going in midfield, and we had some conversations, I think, in our group chat about the lack of central midfielders in the squad and the lack of wingers in the squad. And people sort of threw some suggestions around, such as maybe Niamh Fahey sometimes playing in midfield, as she's done before. And Jazz Matthews was the other one, because I think she played there for Bristol City as well. And fortunately, we can give absolutely no assessment on how she played, because we've no idea. But also on the winger side of things, Carla Humphrey played on the wing, it looks like, in one of those games as well, and Emma had suggested that would happen. So I think he's going to find solutions within his own squad. We know he's brought 4 players in. I think they're still trying to do one more, or they certainly were, and they can get it over the line. But I think at this point, with 2 preseason games to go, anything else in now is a bonus, and this probably is a squad that we have. And we haven't got the most money in the world. We don't pay the biggest wages in the world. We need to find in-house solutions to some of these problems. And if he's happy with those, and only he has seen the performances, then I'm happy to trust his judgment on that.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to be coming up against lots of different types of opposition. So, for example, one game might suit a Leanne Kieran better, or one game might suit a Katie Stengel better, because of the aerial ability and the physicality that she brings, rather than the pace of Leanne Kieran cutting inside the channel. So I think it's definitely, as you said, he's brought together a squad that I think fits in many a different sort of occasions, if that makes sense. So he's got lots of different types of players. Well, I think that one, he can bring off the bench if the system that he set up to go into the game isn't working, or two, he can change it on a game-to-game basis. Like for the Villa game, for the Villas or the Evertons that we're going to come up against, you would imagine we would be a bit more attacking minded, depending on the pace of the opposition's defenders. You might go for the Yankee and into slotting behind the back, or if they're quite physically strong defenders, you maybe would go for a Katie Stengel to sort of shake them off or whatever. So I think that's really quite important, that we've got many different solutions for different challenges. Well, hopefully solutions for the issues that we're going to come up against. And as you say, that I think defense, we've really, in my opinion, is quite strong in the variety of players that we have there, their experience level and their sort of different solution fits all kind of mentality. So I think going forward into like the season, and it all depends on Reading. You are right. Like, what he does on the first game of Reading, would we take that as an indication of that's what he's going to do for the rest of the season, or with minor changes here and there, or is it literally going to be like, oh, swapping in Katie for this game or Kiernan for the other game? It's really hard to tell what actually he's going to do week to week, but having the option, I think, is really important.
Definitely, and it's definitely going to be a horses for courses thing, as you say. And I feel like certainly the discourse on social media, and you can only take really so much into how people talk about football on social media, but people talk about it in terms of very binary ways. So, I guess if the worst of football Twitter were to talk about this Liverpool women's team, you'd have half of them saying Katie Stengel has to start absolutely every game, it's a disgrace. And then if Leanne Kieran is swapped in for one game, everyone would say, oh, Kieran is now the first choice striker. Well, I feel like terms that we use in kind of media and fan media, such as first choice, I feel like Matt Beard just kind of throws them to one side, because he might be thinking, well, as you say, Reading might have a little bit more of the ball and get Kiernan in behind. Chelsea, against some of the best defenders in Europe, we're going to have to get somebody to hold the ball up a little bit better for us. So I guess there's a couple of different ways you can kind of look at it. And I always think this with formations as well, by the way, when people put like arbitrary numbers on formations, I think managers at the top level completely throw that away. We can say it's 5-3-2, or sorry, 5-2-3, which is the way that the team sheets are named on Twitter. But I always think, well, certainly in that game where we played Blackburn, Kovisto and Hines are very much part of the midfield. And we've had conversations about, is 2 in midfield enough in some of these WSL games? Because you normally like the extra body in there for 3. Especially with a Furness isn't going to any younger. Kearns still has a lot to learn, etc., etc. Is two of them in there quite enough? I'm not sure. But then with Covisto and Hines coming in field and helping them out, I see them as very much part of that midfield more than anything else.
They're the base of the attack in some scenarios. They
Definitely.
are the driving force between getting the others up the pitch and into the box. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, completely. And Hines is just everywhere. She's as good defensively as she is going forward. And we're so lucky to have her for at least another season as well. Covisto, I was having a look at some stats today as well. And by the way, if anyone wants to check out Anfield Analytics on Twitter, their stuff is just so unbelievably detailed. It's phenomenal. So next season, we'll have more stats around the game. FB Ref, I know, do the WSL statistics. We were hardly able to find anything last season. So without them, I would know absolutely nothing about what was going on in games that weren't televised and what I couldn't see. So the research I've done, I had a look at, she played mainly in a back four for Brighton, 6th and 7th in the last 2 years. So, you're getting a WSL wing back really from the middle of the league, which is quite a coup for us. I think played in the European Championships as well. These players, I look at like Van de Sande, look at her record, and I think a promoted team shouldn't be signing there. We've done really, really well together. But she's in the 85th percentile. That means that she's in the top 15% basically in the WSL in the last 365 days for pressures, aerial battles, which is interesting as well for a wing back, tackles, blocks, and goals. She scored 3 goals last season. So she gets herself in good areas, and I thought they were very much looking towards Covisto and Hines to get the attack started, as you say. And not only that, you see the term wing backs, and you think they're hugging the touchline, they're going to play out wide the whole game. Actually, what you saw is little triangles out on the wings.
Well, how many times did Taylor Hines cut in and score? Well, she scored that one unbelievable goal for cutting in a little bit and then taking a punt. So absolutely they are told, as you say, not to stay wide. They obviously are told to push out to give space to the midfielders, but if they feel it's necessary, they cut in as well, which provides an overlap for the midfielders, or it just causes confusion on the opposition's back line.
Yeah, and no, you're absolutely right. And if you look at the statistics about where goals are scored from crosses, easy for me to say. If you put a cross in right from the touchline, the number of goals that are scored from that is very, very slim. If you can work your way in field a little bit and get a little bit closer to goal to put your cross in, it's much, much more likely. So you'll always see him. And I'm not making a comparison to men's football for the sake of it, but I presume a lot of our listeners will follow the Liverpool men's team as well. You look at the triangles last season that Henderson, Trent, and Salah did. Henderson was always the man on the touchline. The other option, creating the triangles, so Salah and Trent, the better footballers, could get in better positions. And I think we saw quite a lot of that in that Blackburn game where Covisto especially was picking the ball up almost like in that little gap between the 18-yard box and the 6-yard box at times. Certainly you want Hines in those positions. You don't want Hines in the touchline. You need her use their quality in there. And I think working those positions will be a key part of the game plan next season going forward, because I think Covisto and Hines are probably going to turn out to be two of our better players next year.
I completely agree. Couldn't have said it better myself, Andy. Well done, sir.
Thank you, Amy.
I feel like after that riveting pre-season discussion, we have a couple of questions to end it on. We've only got 6 minutes left on the timer, but we'll get these done.
I haven't seen any of these, by the way, apart from the
it's all right. They're all nice. They're not been nasty to us. Kind of ties into what we're saying actually. First one about the derby. Do you think that Liverpool women will start playing more than just the Merseyside derby at Anfield?
I hope so. It's obviously we get 23,000 there last year, and I mentioned the podcast last week, and I'll be quick on this because I think you should answer it better than me because you've been following it longer than me, and also you weren't on last week. But 23,000 last year, 3 years ago. You look at where women's football was as a place compared to where it is now. You've got the catalyst of the likes of the Euros. You've got the catalyst of Liverpool's season last year.
Yeah,
I was saying that I've literally never seen Liverpool women lose a game in the flesh, a record which I don't expect to continue for very long.
God.
I expect that to be almost doubled in terms of the attendance for the derby. So really looking forward to that. And yes, absolutely, there's no reason why not. Teams share grounds all the time. Liverpool have all the technology at their disposal. I think that would be best. I will miss Prenton Park though if we ever did go to Anfield for good. I know it's way better, but
I'd only miss it for I'd only miss it for the memories we've all had there. I wouldn't probably miss it for the £4 I have to spend on the tunnel each time, or the half an hour it takes me to get there.
I never contribute to that. I never contribute to that. It's always Lauren, isn't it? What do you think about the derby? Because you never got a chance to go on it last week.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think the pinnacle of one of the pinnacles for me, following this team for the last, we're in your 5th year now, good God, was that derby. The day as a whole, the way that it felt, the way that everyone sort of was like there and singing and chanting, and when Niamh Charles was on the ball running down the wing, everyone like literally erupted. It was like unreal, and that was the first taste that I'd had at a major women's football game in a major stadium. So it was a super exciting time, and I think we knew that it wouldn't be the last time that we'd play there. It was just a case of when, not if. But I'd love to be like a Leicester or a Birmingham who play in their men's stadium every single week. But I think it's probably more of a time thing. Like if you think of how many games Liverpool men were in last season, literally maxed out on the amount of games, and put 2 teams on that, the state of the pitch would be.
And Tranmere are always playing a Saturday is the other thing,
Yeah, exactly.
So the Sunday's always free. So there's loads, involved in it, I think. I'm
really looking forward to it. And as we echoed earlier, like, make sure you get your tickets. We're all going to be there.
Come and meet us.
Exactly. I think like we're using this platform to get as many people to come as possible is so important, because I feel like people just need to experience it once. They get the bug and then they keep going. I think that's what's happened to all of us. Like yourself, Mickey, who comes
Certainly
on.
What happened to
we
me,
all got the bug. That's how it happened. And if we can get as many people to sort of come to the game, get a taster, and just change the opinion. I think that's the worst thing. Everyone already has a preconsidered opinion on what they're gonna get when they watch women's football, but I think it will shock a lot of people how far it's come and how entertaining it actually is. And that's, I guess, Absolutely. all we can really wish for. And you're on such an inspirational note there. I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah, go ahead. Fair
Thank
play.
you.
Oh, I should point out we have only got 2 minutes and 20 left, so we're going to need to quick fire through the rest of these.
I know. Okay,
so say 15 seconds each.
There's only a couple. There's only a few. Oh God.
Okay.
Do you prefer the home or away shirt?
Oh, I don't do kits really. I've never got
just say home or away.
The away one's signed, isn't it? It looks like the one you've got in the background. You?
I like the away as well. I like both.
Yeah.
Kind of the other question was, how come women's pre-season friendlies are behind closed doors? We kind of answered this earlier. We were like, we don't know. It's annoying. Yeah. It might just be a case of other teams are trying to figure stuff out and they don't want to broadcast it to the world, I guess. But
it is quite an operation to stage a game as well. I feel like there's a lot that goes into it that people don't realize. That's
got to get someone to stream it and all that sort of jazz.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's something that should actually be happening. I'm not going to let them away with that. I'm going to have a bit of a moan, for that, or certainly at least highlights. Like, come on. Yeah. If they're wanting us to sort of do the coverage and to talk about it in the way that we do, for example, for the men's game, then we need to be able to see what's happening. We want to do it. We need to be able to see what's happening. You know what I mean?
One day, I'm sure we won't have this issue.
Absolutely. And what was the one from Anfield Analytics as well? It was a good one.
Oh, sugar. We're going to have to be super quick with this, aren't we?
It was who's going to be our most impactful signing.
Oh, yeah. Go.
It's between Van der Sar and Kovisto. I
feel like, oh God, we're gonna run out of time.
That's 5 seconds gone. Right, I feel like Kovisto's probably in a normal year would be the more impactful. She's come in, she's playing a very specific position, but it's a World Cup year, which everyone forgets because the Euros were pushed back. Yeah. So Van der Sar will be playing for a place in that team. So I think she's gonna have that little extra bit of fire in her belly next year.
I'm gonna say the same just to make it easy.
Cool.
There's gonna be the question.
Tell me your real answer after.
I will. I know it is. I'm gonna have to do the fastest exit ever. But thank you all for watching. Thanks for coming on, Andy. Make sure you like, comment, anything we've talked about, subscribe. Hopefully Lauren will be back next week. Unsure when she's back from holiday. But if not, probably us two again, or we'll get other people on and get them really involved.
Rushed last little bit.
It was.
I feel like that was fun. I think it was a big rush for people. Come on.
Bye, everyone.